Welcome, my 104 subscribers, everyone on Wrestling Reddit, and everyone who hasn't jumped ship yet, back to the WWE, because Triple H is in charge and he's basically going to turn it into NXT, which I think most AEW fans loved back in the day. But yeah, welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite for the August 3, 2022 show. Let's begin. So we start off the show with Orange Cassidy versus Jay Lethal in a singles match, and I have to say it's really good. Orange Cassidy sold just as consistently as Hangman Page, and a lot more consistent than Kaito Kiyomiya. Yeah, I said it. Because right here, like mid-match, or like about 40 to 50% of it, Jay Lethal targets Orange's leg, he hits him with a dragon screw, and then screws up, no pun intended, Orange's leg, which disables him from doing the stuff that he usually does. So we get all of like the Orange Cassidy stuff like at the start of the match, and when that spot happens, when Jay successfully hurts Orange's leg, this basically grounds Orange, and like he sells this all the time. He even stays on the ground and uses his arms instead to like do his like flippy shit. And then whenever he tries to run, he basically like trips over. So yeah, I really love this match. It's like a storyteller. Jay Lethal was awesome in it. He was a great heel. But there's this one spot that I hate. Like, I hate it every time this happens. It's when Jay Lethal sticks Orange Cassidy's leg like on the steel steps, like inside the steel steps, and then he goes for like a running kick. This looks so hokey and not believable at all because the leg isn't really getting sandwiched to anything. It doesn't look that way. So that's why I don't like this spot. But yeah, we get some comedy spots too. We get like Trent and Chuck, the best friends, do a like Vincent Adult Man from BoJack Horseman sort of like reference with Trent on Chuck with like a coat on in order to face off against Satnam Singh. It would have been cool if like Satnam just like took these guys out, but I guess it would have been too dangerous. But yeah, Sanjay Dutt stops anything from happening, and then they continue with the match. And yeah, I forgot to say that targeting Orange's legs doesn't only like disable him from doing like the stuff he usually does, like the high flying stuff, but it also like takes away his finisher because he needs to run to do the orange punch. It's like a Superman punch. But there's one spot where he like falls over, and then for the finish, Jay just like shoulder blocks his leg. He like super kicks it, and then he goes for the lethal injection for the pin and the win. So yeah, let's get to the spots of the match. So number 3 is this like opening sort of arm drag spot where they go for arm drags, but then Orange raises his arm and then leaves Jay on the floor, rejecting the arm drag. And yeah, this is a really clever spot. It looks nice, and it got a pop from the crowd. And we don't really see this happening. Like back in the olden times, as well as mostly today, nobody does this. Nobody just like doesn't do an arm drag, or like just stops it from happening. So yeah. Number 2 spot is this spot where Orange's legs are hurt, so he has to lift himself with his arms in order to latch onto Jay Lethal in order to do like a Stun Dog Millionaire or something. But then Jay catches him, he goes for like the backbreaker and then an STO. So yeah, nice selling by Orange Cassidy. He can't use his legs, so he uses his arms, but then he fails. And then the backbreaker STO is such a like an underrated spot. It's such an like an underrated move. So yeah, this has to be number 2. And then for number 1, it's the finish. Again, it's where Orange Cassidy goes for the orange punch. He isn't able to hit it. Jay Lethal like shoulder blocks his leg. He super kicks the leg for good measure, and then he goes for the lethal injection for the win. So I love how the story of the match plays into the ending, and Orange isn't just like no-selling his leg. So yeah, this match is like a TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match, but it's in like the middle of the pay-per-view. So I love how Jay Lethal got a win over Orange Cassidy, and they're not just like jobbing him out. He's still like an upper mid-carder of the company, and maybe a future world champion, who knows? Because he's still young. He's like 37 years old. So yeah, Jay Lethal, future AEW world champion, sounds pretty good to me. But not anytime soon, unfortunately. So after this, Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh head to the ring, and then Sanjay Dutt talks in like a very, very nasally voice, and then he calls out Wardlow. And then since Wardlow is friends with the best friends now, Jay Lethal threatens to break Orange Cassidy's leg, but the best friends come out, followed by Wardlow, and then the heels like run off. And then like Jay Lethal challenges Wardlow to a match at Battle at the Belts for the TNT Championship. And oh my god, I hope, for fuck's sake, have like a normal match. Like if this ends up as Wardlow squashing Jay Lethal, this is gonna be like the worst fucking booking ever. Because Jay Lethal just beat Orange Cassidy, who like challenged Wardlow to like an evenly fought match. And then Jay Lethal also went up against Samoa Joe on like an even footing as well. He's also like a former world champion of like multiple companies. So yeah, if Wardlow just squashes Jay Lethal, why not just like give Wardlow all the belts right now? And just like fucking call him Goldberg already. Because come on, Wardlow can't squash everyone forever. He needs to have some good matches in his belt. So yeah, hopefully Wardlow does not squash Jay Lethal. Hopefully the match like goes for about like 15 to 18 minutes. That's about it. Just don't squash Jay Lethal. Don't have it like end in like a Wardlow domination thing like it usually does. So yeah, I approve of this program, but I'm gonna have to wait till the ending. If it ends in a fucking squash, this gets an F or something. So yeah, after this we get like a recap video of Hook winning the FTW Championship. And this was so poorly placed. This should have been like right before Hobbs' match. But this got put here for some reason before the Undisputed Elite segment. For some reason, this was so dumb. Yeah, the Undisputed Elite come out, so it's Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and the Young Bucks. They do like the taunts, the pose, all in all, the entrance. And then Adam Cole cuts a promo. So this is Adam Cole, he can cut a promo. But the content is a bit weird. It's about loyalty. He goes on this tangent where he says it's everything and that it ranks over hustle and respect. Shit. And then he announces that he's not medically cleared, neither is Kyle O'Reilly, and that if the Young Bucks don't pick Bobby Fish as the third member of their team, that the Bucks won't be physically capable of joining the Trios tournament. And then he turns on them. Finally, we're gonna get fucking Adam Cole and the Undisputed Era against the Bucks with Kenny Omega or Hangman Page. Because Hangman comes out to save them and then they're friends again. But I think it's gonna be Kenny Omega. Tony Khan already spoiled it. And I don't think the Hung Bucks are gonna happen yet. I think Adam Page is gonna team up with John Silver and Alex Reynolds, and that's going to be like a solid team. But the Bucks have to team up with Kenny Omega. It just has to happen. So yeah, great segment. The Bucks did not need to talk at all. The facial expressions and the reactions were all that was needed, and Adam Page will forever be a babyface. But I don't think the Hung Bucks is going to happen. And I don't think any of these teams here are gonna win that Trios tournament. For me, it's House of Black because it fucking has to be. They're just like starting to heat up, and then if you give them the Trios titles, all of them are capable in the ring. And they're heels. And Kenny and the Bucks can go chase them for the belts. It could be a program for months. So yeah, for me, that's the right choice. I don't think House of Black should be losing anytime soon. So yeah, Page saves the Bucks and then he leaves them in the ring, and I think this is confirmation that he's not going to be their third member. It's going to be Kenny fucking Omega. Or who knows, it could be predictable like the Hung Bucks. Maybe Kenny's not ready yet, but we'll find out next week. So after this, we get the customary Jon Moxley promo backstage. Like this happens every week, but it hits every time. This is him basically hyping up the main event. He says, it doesn't matter if Chris Jericho or Wheeler wins, but Obviously, it's gonna be Jericho. Because not only is Wheeler Yuta part of the Blackpool Combat Club, but he's also the ROH Pure Champion, and like Jericho's the bigger name. And we have like another like named Dynamite, which I think is the wrong move to do every other week. But AEW are fucking doing it, and it's getting annoying. But yeah, this promo was pretty good. It gets people excited for the main event, and it's totally within Mox's character to say this. So yeah, this isn't the best segment of the night. It just keeps happening every week, this Mox promo. So it's not really anything special. It's just there. The champion is on the screen, and it like works but isn't special. It's not a groundbreaking promo or something. So yeah, after this is like a backstage interview with Christian and Tony Schiavone, but then it turns into like Jungle Boy attempting murder. He tried to run Christian Cage and Tony Schiavone with a car, and shit, this was actually pretty entertaining. I like that Jungle Boy literally threatens Christian with murder. He actually says the words, "I'm gonna kill you," and that doesn't happen like in wrestling these days. So yeah, this is awesome. Christian is awesome. Jungle Boy, in this form that he is in now, is really good as well. So yeah, this is segment of the night so far. So after this, we have the tag team match between Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter versus Thunderstorm. And shit, remember the days when Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker had a rivalry and everyone fucking loved it. Everyone loved women's wrestling, but now like they just stay silent. Well, it's back now. The crowd was on fire for this match. These two women are like clearly in the top 3, along with Ruby Soho, who everyone hates for some reason, and it's dumb. So I really love the opening exchange between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. It was very, very smooth as silk and botch-free. And just like Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm as a tag team, they really work well as one because it's just like a non-stop barrage of like moves. The chemistry is so good, there is no lag time, but there's this one like miscommunication. I don't want to call this a botch because Toni Storm like does something to save it. Like she forgets she's the legal woman, then goes outside to the apron. But then instead of acting embarrassed or like something like that, freezing up, having like a discussion or something, she like says it cheerfully that, "Oh, it's me?" And then she goes back in the ring and then tags Thunder Rosa out. But yeah, it like looks like a botch. But Toni Storm does well to like cheerfully save it, salvage it to make it entertaining. And yeah, it was like pretty funny and pretty cutesy just because it's a girl. If it was like one of the dudes who made this mistake, it would be perceived a lot differently because like the cuteness factor of like Toni Storm just like takes it out of that. And yeah, just went on a tangent about Toni Storm right there. And yeah, shit. Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter have been teaming up for like a longer period of time, and they also work very well together. And it's gonna be kind of sad when they break up, having not won like a tag team championship yet. Because it does look like it's coming, but I don't know. And since I'm like watching this TBS like replay that I torrented, because I haven't renewed my Fight subscription yet, we get like a picture-in-picture of the match and House of the Dragon. And yeah, I love Game of Thrones, like the first 4 seasons of it before it turned into shit, as well as the books and as well as the history. Like, you know what? I love like the history of the Ice and Fire series more than the actual like series itself. It's just like with the Lord of the Rings, I like the history more. Like Beleriand was 100% more interesting than like the Second Age with Numenor and the Third Age with like everything that went on there. So yeah, I really love the casting of like the Doctor Who guy, and I think he'll make an awesome Daemon Blackfire. But for the love of God, please do it right. Just avoid adding unnecessary shit that doesn't work and properly represent the end of like the dragons in that world. So yeah, that's the end of this segue. Back to the match. So yeah, all of the heel work was done during this commercial break, and I cannot wait to renew the Fight subscription because the match just goes on without picture-in-picture, without cutting the audio. It is, in my opinion, the best way to experience like the AEW shows. It's on Fight. So yeah, Thunder Rosa manages to tag out to Toni Storm. She kicks Jamie Hayter's ass, but then she like tornado DDTs Britt on the outside, and then Rebel interferes, but Toni manages to take her out as well. Then when she comes back in the ring, I think this was like a missed opportunity, in my opinion. Jamie Hayter should have gotten control back. Instead, Toni gets like a flying crossbody. Like none of what she did actually mattered. It didn't give Jamie Hayter enough time to recuperate, to finally do a counter. But instead, everything just happens like even if that whole thing with Britt and Rebel didn't happen. I mean, this makes Toni Storm look really strong, but it doesn't really make sense for the match, in my opinion. And then like right after this, we have like the worst spot of the match, which is an Alabama Slam that I think Toni Storm should stop using because she's not tall enough and the landing is like 100%. Like every time she uses this, the Alabama Slam looks fucking awkward. Jamie Hayter like doesn't land correctly. This just looks terrible. Like the guy in the crowd even does like the head side to side thing. So yeah, no Alabama Slams anymore, please. That move sucks, and it was made by someone who like sucks as a person. Like I honestly think the Alabama Slam got the crowd to turn on Thunderstorm just because of how bad it fucking looked. Because like right after this, when Thunderstorm went for the like double suplex on Jamie Hayter, she counters and then the crowd goes wild. And then we get like a stupid distraction spot with like Rebel just like having a conversation with Toni Storm as she's up on the apron. So like this distracts Toni Storm so much that Britt Baker manages to throw out Thunder Rosa and then like go for like an avalanche air raid crash on Toni Storm, and this has to be like the highest impact move of the entire match. And then like the team of Britt and Jamie go for the pin after like they do like a combination of moves, like a kneeling clothesline followed by like a curb stomp to Toni Storm, and then Thunder Rosa just goes for the save at like 2.99. It was so fucking close. And it even got me. I thought this was gonna be the end of the match. And apparently not only me, but that entire fucking crowd. So yeah, like right after this, the crowd like went up on its feet, and this has to be like the loudest women's match in AEW within this year. So yeah, if you want to build this women's division on somebody, it's gotta be like one of these four women or Ruby Soho. Because fuck, Jade Cargill doesn't get these kinds of reactions in her fucking matches. And I can't say that enough. I don't even think she gets these kinds of reactions in her promos because she just says the same thing. So please, Toni, cut the shit. You know what? They actually got a "This is awesome" chant after a couple of more exchanges, and the commentators positioned Jamie Hayter as the star of the match, which she was. He has like 2 out of the 3 spots of the match, and she also got the win. And then the ending was fucking awesome because Thunderstorm go for like the running hip attack, like double running hip attacks, and then just Toni Storm going around hip attacking everyone. But then for the last one, Britt like pulls Thunder Rosa in, so she's accidentally hip attacked by Toni Storm. This gets Storm distracted, and then Jamie fucking Hayter hits her with a fucking Rainmaker and wins 1-2-3. So yeah, let's move on to the spots of the match, and number 3 is like the double suplex by Jamie Hayter on both Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. So like this is like the spot that really made Jamie. It made her the star of the match, and it gave us a clue of how the match was gonna end. It like made Jamie Hayter here the main character of the match. And then so after this, number 2 spot is the Avalanche Air Raid Siren. This was gonna be number 1. I certainly thought so when the match was still happening, But the ending was just like so much better. So number one spot of this match is the ending. So like from the hip attack thing to the pulling of Thunder Rosa to get hip attacked, and then to the Rainmaker, which is such an awesome finisher, getting Jamie like the biggest win of her AEW career, and just like giving this match a great ending. It got the crowd on their feet, and it's fucking a Rainmaker. It's like one of the most protected moves in all of wrestling. So yeah, that's number one spot, no doubt. So yeah, this match was better than the first. For me, it could be like TV main event, pay-per-view main event level of match, but more leaning on pay-per-view. This has to be like the best women's tag team match and like the best women's match that we've had for like months now. Like for this year, this is the best women's match we've had. It's certainly the most well-reacted match. So yeah, great win for Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Love the matching outfits, and I guess we're gonna get Jamie versus Thunder Rosa at Battle of the Belts. So after this, we get what we think is like Sammy Guevara and Tay Conchi doing like their cringy love shit. They announce that they're getting married. They replay like the engagement. But this is interrupted by Eddie Kingston, who is, as usual, like a very good promo. He's like the best promo in the entire fucking company. He asks why he's not getting like this whole like video package thing. And then he challenges Sammy Guevara to a match at the pay-per-view. So that's gonna be at All Out, which I think Eddie Kingston's gonna win. I mean, he has to. Sammy Guevara is just like an underling of Chris Jericho. And eventually, I think Eddie's gonna get Chris Jericho like for the win finally. Or he could move on to like another feud. But yeah, this thing with Eddie and Jericho has been going on for like a long time now. It would be nice for him to like just beat Sammy Guevara and then move on to something else. But yeah, this was like a very entertaining segment. Eddie Kingston always fire, and then I hope he finally like gets his wish to finally wrestle somebody from Noah, from AJPW, or from New Japan. Oh wait, he's gonna wrestle Naomichi Marufuji at a House of Glory show, and I hope we get it at Wrestle Universe. So yeah, not quite segment of the night. It can't beat like Jungle Boy just threatening murder, but it is definitely like second or third. So after this, we get Powerhouse Hobbs against Ren Jones in like a squash match. Like it just happens. Powerhouse Hobbs hits his like usual moves, like no spine buster, I was surprised. But he finishes Ren Jones off with like a hard clothesline and then wins the match. No surprise here. And I really love Powerhouse Hobbs's in-ring charisma. His voice is like loud enough to be heard by the camera when he said like, "Watch this, Ricky." And so after the match, Ricky Starks goes in the ring and they start brawling. And I was kind of surprised here to see that they're basically the same height, but Powerhouse is just like thicker. Ricky Starks is like more defined, more athletic looking, while Powerhouse Hobbs is just like a big dude. And it doesn't look like it's as one-sided as I first thought that it was gonna be. They're actually like kind of the same size. And Starks was actually like getting the upper hand, but the referee had to like block Starks. He like body blocks Starks. It gives Powerhouse enough time to recuperate and then spinebuster the shit out of Starks. So sad. So that's how this thing ends, with Powerhouse Hobbs coming out on top again. So I don't know how this is supposed to end. I mean, Ricky Starks I think should get the win. He has like a bigger potential than Hobbs. But Hobbs is also like kind of up there. He's like the bigger dude. He may not be as good as like a promo as Starks, but he's like good enough. So yeah, this is like the most unpredictable feud of the entire show, or like of like everything in AEW right now. And I can't wait for that fucking match. Really great feud, very unpredictable. and level the playing field between Starks and Hobbs. So after this, we get another Miro video promo, and this is actually getting kind of old. I mean, it's like getting very repetitive. It also happened with the House of Black, but just have them cut promos against each other in the ring already. Not any of this pre-recorded crap. It was cool the first time, but if you just keep doing it all over again every week, it gets old, and this whole shtick here just got old. Even if Miro is really good at this. So I hope they face off next week. And this just cuts out to black and goes over right to Darby Allin's promo. And it's so much better, and it has a point. Because in this promo of his, he's cutting it in the usual Darby way, but this time it's a lot more coherent. What he's saying is said very well. And then as he's doing this, he tattoos on his hand the coffin drops on Brody King. So yeah, Darby is kind of a masochistic son of a bitch. Just tattooed something on himself on his hand, and I think this hurts. And that's just on top of all the crazy shit he does, the outside dives, the dives on nothing, and just everything Darby does. So yeah, this was fucking cool right here. And this has to be number 2 segment of the show. This was really well done. And the match is gonna happen next week. The last time we had a match like this, Darby ended up winning. So I think there's this slim chance that he's gonna win, but I think he's gonna win. I think the coffin match is his match. If he can beat Andrade in one, he's gonna beat fucking Brody King in one as well. So after this, we get the Christian Cage Matt Hardy match. And honestly, I had zero expectations for this, because these are 2 past their prime wrestlers that could give us a 5-star match back in the day, but this time not anymore. But instead, they surprised me. At first, they do what I thought they were gonna do for the whole match, but it changes. They start by wrestling a very, very made-for-TV match. There was a lot of punching, some minimal grapples, and I honestly thought that because of Matt Hardy's condition, that this was gonna be it. But shit, they turn back the clock, and they have a match if they were 20 years younger. I mean, Matt Hardy doesn't go for his leg drop or the asser anymore. He goes for a lot of elbow drops, but to the same effect. There were landings in where Matt Hardy clearly couldn't take them anymore. For example, the superplex. When he lands the superplex, he just stays on the floor. Christian sells, but Matt just stays on the floor, and it looked kind of scary and kind of weird. And yeah, it didn't look good for Matt Hardy. But yeah, shit, the near falls here were really good. The moves that especially Matt Hardy goes for here, really fun looking. One was kind of surprising, but also kind of dangerous that Christian was willing to take this. And the near falls were fucking awesome. Just know that this is a quintessential WWE TV match. That's really good. From back in the 2000s. It kind of reminded me of Samoa Joe versus Jay Lethal, but just not that epic. But it was very well wrestled and actually got me to watch it. I was pretty much engaged for this whole thing. And then the finish of the match is right after Matt elbow drops a table, Christian Cage throws him in the ring, hits the Unprettier, and then wins the match. And I love how Christian Cage's Unprettier is just dropping the head on the floor. It looks so much better than when Juice Robinson does it, by so much. It looks like it hurts a lot more. Because Juice Robinson does this, but he does a jump. The both of them jump, and it just looks kind of bad. This one looks more believable, and yeah, Christian Cage still has it. Matt Hardy is losing it, but he managed to give us a really good match here. So for the spots of the match, number 3 is this thing that Christian does where Matt Hardy runs at the apron, Christian leaves, And then he does like a sort of like this sort of weird kick that he does right here. It's Christian's signature move in the WWE games. And like a person his age, I don't think should be doing this, but he's still able to. He's still awesome. And I won't be surprised if he beats Jungle Boy. By cheating, of course, because that has been Christian's MO for like ever, like in the WWE and such. So yeah, Christian winning, not really a big surprise if that happens. And I think it'll be better for story. And it could like turn into like a multiple pay-per-view feud, which would be cool because Christian still has it. And if he loses to Jungle Boy, I don't know where he goes next. He's still very entertaining, a really good promo, and a great wrestler. Okay, so number 2 spot is when Matt Hardy went for the back body drop. It's an avalanche back body drop by Matt Hardy to Christian, and this has to like suck to take because Christian like lands from higher than the turnbuckle over Matt Hardy and then like straight back first on the floor. This looked like it sucked to take, but it looked really good. And then for the number 1 spot in the match, it has to be where Matt Hardy just like elbow drops a fucking table and like costs him the match. There was a table used. It wasn't a DQ because he didn't manage to hit Christian. He like lands on the table. Then Christian does the unprettier for the win. So yeah, this match was better than I expected. It's not better than the first match as well as the women's tag team. For the night, so far it's like second to the last. But that really doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that the other matches were simply better. So yeah, TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard match. And so after this, Christian tries to concerto Matt, but then Luchasaurus comes out, he stares down Christian, and then Jungle Boy, from behind, dodges a chair shot from Christian, and then he does an Obi-Wan where he picks up the lightsaber, or in this case, the chair of the fallen guy. Then he goes after Christian, but Christian escapes. Then Jungle Boy stands tall in the middle of the ring, super over with everyone in the crowd like waving their hands to his music. So yeah, really good post-match segment, really good match. It's still not segment of the night, but it's like really good. So after this, Daniel Garcia, like there's an interview backstage between him and Tony Schiavone. He cuts a promo, and again, like I say, every time this guy cuts a promo, he's like a member of the Blackpool Combat Club who identifies as like a sports entertainer. So this time he declares himself the Dragon Slayer, and this has to be the most sports entertainery thing that he's done so far. And then he calls out Bryan Danielson, challenges him to another match when he's okay. But yeah, this was like just to give him the nickname Dragon Slayer. I hope he reads Berserk. It would be a nice reference. But it's more of like a Bryan Danielson thing, and it works like as is. So after this, we get like a recap of Pac against Connor Mills. In like Revpro Wrestling, it's like the usual Pac defense outside of AEW. But this time, they add in Kip Sabian. They start like a feud between like Kip Sabian and Pac. So Kip Sabian has like this box over his head that says underrated over it. And I didn't expect his return to be against Pac. But at least we're gonna get like an Atlantic Championship defense at AEW. And God, we need that belt in AEW right now. And so after this, we get like Ethan Page cutting a promo in the ring. And like I said in one of my Reddit posts a few months ago, if there was anyone to replace MJF, it would either be Ricky Starks or this man right here, Ethan Page. Because he can cut a fucking promo. He's like alright in the ring, just like Starks and just like MJF. But I think they're like a bit better than MJF. With the same ceiling when it comes to the talking. But MJF just has the height. He has like the thickness of the body, and I think he just knows what to say more than these guys right here. But it's getting kind of close. So just like what Ethan Page always says in podcasts, he has to fight for like every minute of time that he has in TV. And right here is like the promo about that. And he cuts it like in an MJF style. It's in like a shoot interview style. It's well delivered and shit. It doesn't bury the company. And that's how it fucking should be. Because what Tony Khan let MJF do was fucking dumb. And then I love how like Stokely Hathaway just like quietly makes his way into the ring mid-promo and just waits for Ethan Page to be done, and then he offers him a business card, which Ethan Page accepts, and then he leaves with Stokely. And so I guess he's gonna have a match with Scorpio Sky or something at All Out. Dan Lambert is gonna turn babyface as well as Scorp, and we're gonna have Ethan Page carrying the entire baddies team, like in promos as well as in wrestling. And so after this, we get a backstage segment with JAS, so this is 2.0, and Anna Jay, with their comments about Chris Jericho against Wheeler Yuta. So this whole thing is basically them just appreciating Chris Jericho, just as their faction name implies. But the way they do it is just so like fucking entertaining. Like Daddy Magic's accent is just like never terrible. He even starts it off with like, you know what gets Daddy Magic's nipples hard, Tony? Like that fucking accent right there. Spot on. And then Cool Hand Ange is sort of like finding his way as well. He's getting the promo voice. It's not as good as Daddy Magic's accent, but it's his own thing. And like the switchblade comb is doing wonders for his character. And then as for Anna Jay, I don't think I've ever seen her with like all this fucking personality, because she's been like a vanilla like women's wrestler for all of her time in AEW, even when she was with the Dark Order. This has to be like the best iteration of Anna Jay we've seen yet. And it's fucking like crazy Anna Jay who just like chokes out kids. Because like he chokes out this fucking like teenager staff guy, and then Magic and Ange have to pull her off. Such great character right here. All she needs to do is get better in the ring. So yeah, great segment. And I think this becomes number 2 segment of the night. Just because it's just like so fucking entertaining. They are like sports entertainery as shit. And you know what? I'm gonna have to put this one on top. This is the best segment of the night so far. Beats out Jungle Boy telling Christian that he wants to kill him. Okay, so after this is the Ass Boys versus the Acclaimed in a dumpster match. And this might not be your like traditional wrestling match. If in TEW it's like a car crash type, like there were no like wrestling moves done here. Like there were grapples, there were like some strikes, but most of the shit here is just like weapon hits. Weapon hits and people being thrown off of stuff. Like we even start the match off with like a brawl on the outside, which then leads into the Acclaimed opening rap. And that rap was pretty spicy, and it's gonna be a spot in the match. And I just like to add that for a comedy feud, this match was surprisingly brutal. We get like this spot where Anthony Bowens gets suplexed on the stage, as well as get powerbombed into the dumpster. And like the dumpster is like half open. So like the other side, the other cover that's closing the dumpster is like still closed. So if there was any miscalculations here by the Ass Boys, like Anthony Bowens could have been like paralyzed for life, is like if his neck would have hit that like cover. But thankfully the Ass Boys have great accuracy and throw Anthony Bowens right into the dumpster. And just for that, it's another spot in the match. And also there was a lot of crowd interaction here. Like there was actually like one spot that was like covered up by the picture-in-picture, where the crowd shouted Ass Boys at the Ass Boys. And then like this like shook Austin Gunn to his core. And then they pay it off like near the end, where like Austin Gunn shouts out, "Who's the Ass Boy now?" And then they all shout at him, "You," and then he's shaken up. It would have been better if the first half of that like sort of storyline of the match would have had like proper volume and audio instead of like a commercial. So for the first half of the match, the Ass Boys gain control. They almost like close the lid on the Acclaimed, but in like movie fashion, the Acclaimed stick their hands and then stop the trash can from being closed, or like the dumpster from being closed. And then we get weapon hits ranging from like trash cans, trash lids, as well as like Max Caster's chain that's like loaded on his fist. He like Dynamite Kid style packed his fist with something in order to like hit him. And then the match like moves to like the stage area. The Ass Boys regain control. They set Anthony Bowens up to be like jumped on by Austin Gunn, who's like wearing overalls. Like overalls are the worst fucking clothes ever. Like who the fuck wears overalls like in 2022? I mean, I used to wear overalls, but I was like 5 years old. Overalls never look good unless you're like a farmer and you actually need it, or if you're like a girl trying to be cute and who wears overalls. Like those are the only two times that it works. Or if you're like a kid and your parents force you to wear an overall. Like those are the only 3 times that you're supposed to wear an overall ever. And Austin Gunn here is wearing a fucking overall. God damn. So like they try to set Anthony Bowens on the table, but then he regains control. He hits Colton Gunn with the trash can. And then since Austin Gunn is like fully committed on like the entrance way, he's like on top. He can't get down anymore unless he jumps. He just like stays there until Max Caster appears in horror movie fashion right behind him and then throws him off into the dumpster, taking him out of the match. And then like Anthony Bowens sets up like Colton Gunn on the table instead, and then Max Caster drops the mic, throws him into the dumpster, and then match ends. That's the finish. And after that, to add insult to injury, to rub salt on the wound, they like throw the dumpster with the Ass Boys inside off of the stage, and then it flips over. So you know what? I think they're actually wearing seatbelts inside. It would be smart to put seatbelts inside of the dumpster, but who knows how they do it. It does look good though, but this is like the most sports entertainery match in all of AEW, aside from Stadium Stampede. So yeah, let's head to the spots of the match. So number 3 spot is the spot where the Ass Boys powerbomb Anthony Bowens, and then he doesn't get caught on anything. He just lands inside of the half-opened dumpster. So nice accuracy here by the Ass Boys. Anthony Bowens wasn't paralyzed. Really good. So number 2 spot is Max Caster's wrap, because since this is effectively like a false count anywhere, the match starts when you start punching people. So yeah, the match starts. The Acclaimed overpower the Ass Boys, and then they do the wrap where Max Caster like says that he's gonna make the Ass Boys retire like Vince McMahon, and then Anthony Bowens is just like in shock, with a shock face, hands on his head, as Max Caster finishes the rap. So really good job referencing the other company here. And it continues Max Caster's imaginary feud against Vince McMahon. And then for the number 1 spot, it's the finish. So from when Max Caster appears behind of Austin Gunn, he throws him into the dumpster. They set Colton up to be mic dropped. Max Caster drops the mic, and then they throw them both in the trash can, ending the match. So yeah, this was like the most fun match of the show. It's not like the best wrestling match, but it was like pretty fun, and the crowd was 100% into it. But not as into it as the women's match a while ago. So yeah, it would surprise me if this was the end of the feud. I think they should have like a best of 3, where the Ass Boys actually get like a pinfall victory in the next match, and then maybe have like the blow off at All Out in like a cage match or something, or like War Games with like 6 people in it. Or who knows, like maybe like have them face off in the 6-man tag team tournament. But yeah, the feud should not end here. Like I think they still have like a lot to offer, and there's still a lot to this feud. So yeah, really fun match. This should have been on a pay-per-view undercard and not on TV. There was just like so many like hard-hitting spots here, some high-risk ones that, yeah, it's not like a Dynamite worthy match, it's supposed to be like on a pay-per-view undercard. Or if you want it on Dynamite, make it the main event. Okay, so after this, we get the build-up to Battle of the Belts. I think it's 3. That happens every 4 months. But when I checked it, like on Wikipedia, Battle of the Belts 4 is gonna happen like on October. So like 3-month gap. This is a fucking mistake right here. Stop diluting your fucking special events and have it happen every fucking year. But for this show, we have for like the ROH Championship, Claudio versus Konosuke Takeshita. So Claudio, after living in America for so long, his promos actually aren't bad. I don't know what these WWE fans are saying where like Claudio's a bad promo, he's uncharismatic. You know what? He sounds like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. Actually sounds better than Arnold Schwarzenegger. Ever. Like since the history of fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger in America. He sounds like that, his diction is fine, and then like he has this like look. He knows how to look when cutting a promo. And like the exact opposite of this is Konosuke Takeshita, which is understandable because he's like Japanese, and this is like his first like consistent American tour where he's been on like TV. So yeah, it's understandable that Konosuke Takeshita is having trouble with his English, and like the look he has when cutting a promo isn't like that good. And yeah, I don't think he cuts that much like TV promos in Japan. Like from what I watched of DDT, they just cut promos like after the show when you win the main event, and Konosuke probably won a lot of those, but it's like addressed to the crowd and not to like a TV audience. It's not like made for TV. So it would take time for Konosuke to like adjust to this American style. So yeah, but it does the job. But Claudio carries this whole fucking segment right here. So yeah, Konosuke Takeshita has never had a bad match in his run in AEW, and Claudio Castagnoli is very like, what do you call this? Is very capable. So yeah, I'm expecting a good match. This is the main event, I'm sure of it. But for this segment right here, Claudio talking really good, but Konosuke still needs to do some work. So yeah. And then after this, we have the main event between Wheeler Yuta and Chris Jericho. So Wheeler Yuta enters with William Regal, and Chris Jericho enters with Daddy Magic and Cool Hand Ange 2.0. So Wheeler just like waves Claudio in. So Claudio like accompanies Wheeler, stays in ringside to back him up against 2.0. And honestly, I think like Claudio Castagnoli's power level is like more than 2.0's combined. So yeah, the match starts with Wheeler Yuta in control, and this is probably because he fucking just works on Chris Jericho's broken nose. He does like dirty tactics, he flicks on the nose, he punches the nose, then he throws Chris Jericho out, throws him back in. But then due to like 2.0 distraction, they manage to give Chris Jericho ample time to recover. Like, they give Chris Jericho so much time to recover. Like, they get thrown out, and then like Claudio and Wheeler get their eyes off of Jericho, and like they wave and tease 2.0 out of the arena. And for me, like, as a member of the fucking Blackpool Combat Club, you're supposed to like focus on your opponent. You're supposed to like be the most like anal fighters in the entire company, but you get your eyes off the ball, and then Chris Jericho manages to roll Wheeler Yuta up, but then Wheeler escapes and then like boots Jericho in the head. And I like how the stereotypical, the expected does not happen, where Wheeler loses control because of this. Like, it happens later because of like something else, but I'm glad that even if Wheeler was distracted, he still like has half attention on Jericho. So this like immediately boosts up his like IQ points. And so when Chris Jericho regains control, all of the heel work happens during picture-in-picture, and then we get another House of the Dragon trailer, and I've already given my thoughts on that. But after this, we get a trailer for Prey, and you know what? Honestly, I've never seen the first Predator movie. I have seen Alien vs. Predator, but I think that's shit. And I have seen like the Predators movie with Adrian Brody, and I think that's really good. And this movie titled Prey is like set in the like colonization of like the West, I think, We have like dudes with guns with Native Americans against a Predator, and the lead is now female, and then I've heard that Paul London was supposed to be the lead, according to him. Or like a side character, I don't know, but according to this setting, this would make sense. And this has to be like the most interesting Predator movie I've like seen. That's not just like some dudes in like the army that's plopped into like some place, or like some dudes who are like former military dudes who are like plopped into like another planet. Instead, this is a more like historical setting, and imagine if we get like Predators in medieval Japan. That would be fucking cool. The Predators would not stand a chance. So yeah, back to the match. When we return from picture-in-picture, Wheeler regains control, and then you know what, I noticed that his moveset is really like not that special yet. Like, I think he excels very much in like technical wrestling matches, but in this one it's like pretty regular, but he just does everything like in a faster pace. And if you like play him in a video game, he's not the most interesting to use. But I have to say that his moveset is a lot more interesting than Finn Balor's is. Like, do you remember the time when Finn Balor was like at his like hottest period? Like, all he does was like kick, sell, coup de grace, finish the match. And like maybe a sling blade in there, maybe like one or two. Wheeler's moveset is like pretty regular. He's like more of a technical wrestler. Like, his most interesting thing is like the multiple German suplexes with waist control, but it's infinitely more interesting than Finn Balor's is. Because Finn is like a high flyer who doesn't really fly. While Wheeler's moveset here, like, he has like a flying clothesline that looks pretty good. Like a clothesline on the apron that also looks pretty good. But like his main things like remind me of Chris Benoit so much. And he has the look down. If he only like buffs up a little bit, if he like bulks up a little bit, he would be like a pillar of AEW, along with like MJF and Jungle Boy. And as for Chris Jericho, he kind of messes up a couple of things. Like, he goes for the lion salt, and he's supposed to land on like Wheeler's legs because Wheeler gets the legs up, but he lands just a little bit above of this. And if it was any higher, and if Wheeler wasn't like protecting himself, Wheeler could have been concussed here. So like, bad look here from Jericho. And then we have this thing where Wheeler is going for like a diving move, and then he counters with like, what do you call this move? Like the code breaker. He does the code breaker, but it looks pretty bad. I don't think Jericho should be doing that anymore. He should be leaning on the brawling thing that he does, and a lot less of the moves that requires him to like hurt himself. But I do like the spot where Wheeler goes for like the sextuple German suplexes, and then Jericho counters this with the walls of Jericho. And then as for the finish of the match, you know what? This finish is fucking awesome and is probably going to be top one spot of the match, because Wheeler has Jericho in like an STF, but then Jericho manages to escape after Wheeler like lets go of the hold and then tries to pull him back. Jericho gets this like super fucking tight window to escape. He grabs his bat, and then like this is used as like a distraction in order to like have Aubrey Edwards look away from the match, so he low blows Wheeler, which like sets him up for the Judas effect. But then Wheeler ducks out of it. He tries to like do the seat belt on Chris Jericho for the pin. Jericho then rolls out of it in like pretty ingenious fashion, and then gets Wheeler Yuta in the Lion Tamer and makes him tap out. So yeah, you know what? I fucking love this finish. I'm just gonna say it now. This is like the number one spot of the match, because I love how like Jericho cheated, but this did not lead to his win. Like, Chris Jericho's actual like veteran skill led him to the win. Because after the low blow, Jericho just like tried to Judas effect Wheeler, it misses, and then he had to like roll out of a seatbelt to get the win. So I love how this like puts a clear divide on Chris Jericho and Wheeler Yuta, like two fucking tiers away, as well as make Wheeler look strong. because this was like a pretty even contest all throughout. Jericho was just like a lot more savvy, and it shows that he still has some Lionheart in him. And yeah, I just noticed that Claudio was gone from ringside, and I missed this. I don't know when this happened, or why this happened. Maybe it was trying to like deter the rest of JAS to try and help. But I like that none of the outside interferences played into the ending, and that Chris Jericho like clearly won clean against a clearly inferior Wheeler Yuta. So yeah, let's get to the other two spots of the match. So number 3 spot in the match is the double crossbody like spot where Wheeler and Jericho go for crossbodies, but then Jericho like crossbodies Wheeler harder. So like they fall off on Wheeler's side. I love how they don't just like crash on each other and like fall on the middle. I love that because of Jericho's size, it overpowers Wheeler. And for the second spot of the match is the sextuple German suplexes that the 6th is countered by Chris Jericho. And then the number 1 spot, like I said, it's the finish. So yeah, after the match, Jericho like keeps the hold on, but then Mox saves Wheeler. And then like they have a stare down, and then Jericho grabs the mic, and then he accepts Mox's challenge to face him as the Lionheart. And then I fucking love the line that Jericho uses where he like says that he's gonna stretch the shit out of Jon Moxley. So yeah, we're gonna get Jon Moxley against the Lionheart, Chris Jericho, the Techniker, next week on Quake at the Lake. So yeah, that's the end of Dynamite. And you know what? I really love this show. This was probably the most consistent show, like, wrestling match-wise, in a long time. Like, we always had stinkers in the last few weeks, but this one, like, all the matches, like, slapped. They were all good, except for, of course, the squash match, but yeah, all the matches that actually mattered were really fucking good. And the Tony Khan dumb booking thing did not apply to this show. So yeah, looking forward to Quake at the Lake next week. The review for that one is probably gonna come out on Sunday. I still have like a lot of shit to do on Friday. So yeah, looking forward to that. Looking forward to all of AEW shit in the future, as well as the Fight Forever game. That I might make a video out of, just for fun and just for views. So yeah. And then as for the ratings for this week, I'm not even gonna flash it. It went down a couple. But yeah, that's just where AEW is right now. So yeah, really good show, really consistent wrestling. There was no like standout segment of the night. But yeah, the wrestling here was very, very good. So yeah, that's the review. Like, comment, and subscribe for engagement. Share if you do not know me. Hit that bell notification for future videos, and please, watch my shit.